if we're supposed to be able to get this exact value based upon pi over 12, we got to find some way using two angles in radians that we know the exact values of. Okay, and so with pi over 12, since 4 times 3 is 12, then I'm thinking, okay, so this is probably coming from a pi over 3 minus pi over 4. Now, there may be another way to get pi over 12. Sometimes there might be more than one way, but in this case, I don't think there is. So when you get a common denominator, you multiply each by the other denominator. And so you can use the sum property of the sign to find the sign of pi over 12 for that reason. Okay, so now we'll do okay, so this starts with S. So we switch and we do the same sign. Okay, so then this is going to be the sine of pi over 3, cosine pi over 4, same sign, so that's minus, so it stays minus. Now we switch, cosine pi over 3, sine pi over 4. And then remember, pi over 3 is basically a 60-degree, and pi over 4 is a 45-degree. But again, this is why the exact values are important, because you don't want to be fumbling with exact values right here. All right, so this would be 3 over 2, 2 over 2, and then minus 1/2, and then root 2 over 2, and then the same thing simplified after that. Okay, now when we do the tangent, figuring out how to get 195 into two angles that we know, sometimes it's a little easier, sometimes it might be a little bit of a struggle, but basically if you want to figure out what to add to be 195, what I would do is I'd subtract one of the ones that we know. Right? So you could subtract 30, you could subtract 45, you could subtract 60, and it turns out 60 is the one that works because 135 is a 45-degree location in the second quadrant. So if we combine 135 and 60, we can get 195. So then if we did the tangent, we'll be able to construct an exact value for the tangent of 195. Okay, well, 135 would be over here, and it's going to be a 45, so the tangent would be -1 at 135, and 60 would be right here, in which the vertical is √3 over 2, and the horizontal 1/2, so the tangent here is going to be √3. Tangent over here would be -1. Okay, so we're going to do this one now. So the sign is always the same on top. So if it's plus, then it's plus on top. Okay, so then tangent of 135 plus tangent of 60, and then 1 minus tangent of 135 times tan 60. Okay, so then -1 plus √3, and then 1 minus -1 times √3. Now I'm going to go ahead and, since it's minus a negative, I'm going to go ahead and just do that right here. And that's basically it, but that's not rationalized. So even though that's right, we tend to want to rationalize. So that would mean multiply top and bottom by 1/. root 3 to go ahead and rationalize that. Now, again, maybe you're good with multiplying two terms to two terms in your head. Same thing, two terms to two terms in your head. But what you should get when you do that, so when the denominator, it's going to become 1 minus 3. And then in the numerator, negative 1 times 1, negative 1 times negative root 3. And then now the root 3 times 1, root 3 times negative root 3. All right, so then this would simplify. And then now notice what happens when you simplify, you get something even much simpler than the original problem. So that's one of the reasons why we want to use rationalizing denominator techniques by multiplying a conjugate based upon the denominator, because this basically will become 1 times 1 minus root 3 times root 3. The other two terms will cancel out. And that enables us usually to simplify this so that the denominator is no longer rooted, and that means we have the ability to simplify. Sometimes we can't because the denominator may not be a factor of the two parts of the numerator in the sum. Okay, so again, probably some course 3 stuff, or what used to be called algebra 2, showing up. What you're doing with these is you're just recognizing which sum or difference formula this came from. And so when you look at the first one, they're switching. So this came from the sign. And if it's minus, that means it has to be this one. So that means A minus B. Okay, so 20 minus 80. So this would be the sign of negative 60. And pick the first pair to decide what A or B is. So A, B, right? So, okay, then here on the bottom, same kind of thing. This came from the tangent sum and difference formula, okay? So it's minus on top, so that means it's going to have to be this one. And so the first angle is the A, the second angle is the B, so 30 minus 20. So this represents the tangent of 10 degrees. That's what that represents. So these last two aren't too bad once you recognize what it's asking you to do.